Hi. Um, I'm sharing a series of videos with you. And this is on the tail end of being accepted and then being rejected and the violent reaction I had. And I was in that upturned, tousled state. If you saw the last video, explains it a bit. And in mid-repair, I would say. I was in the middle of recovering from that news and how it threw me for a loop, how it derailed me, and I had to take time out to recover from it. And I knew that. That was a big thing. I knew that I wasn't pushing against it. It shouldn't happen. Da 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 da. Da. I did take the time out to repair. But during this time, I attended a mastermind. So it was scheduled. I scheduled to attend. It was virtual, thank God. And interestingly enough, I was having all these difficulties with my devices. So my computer would just, if I touched it in the wrong place, would shut down, and often for a whole day. I don't know. It was recovering too, I guess. And my phone, even now, don't try to call me because everything's supposed to be working, but I don't receive a ringtone. There's no notice that you're calling me. So send me an email. But so I went to this mastermind, and I just so happened I couldn't even get into it until after the noontime lunch because everything was acting up so much. So I entered in. I had like one eye hanging. My head was fuzzy and cloudy, but I wanted to attend. And I came in, and this is a place where people can bring their successes. They can get feedback from the group. And if they're having stuck spaces, problems, they're not able to move through things, bring that too, and have the benefit of the group to help them, like feedback. So it's this wonderful space where you feel welcome and held and protected. And when I entered, it just seemed to be hearing these stories, of things that weren't working. And there was a lot of confusion about why it wasn't working. And to me, as a spectator, when they're in the middle of something, it's one thing. When you're a spectator, you see it much different, especially if you're somebody who's like a trained clairvoyant, So yeah, I have that time in. But so I was watching, and as if you have your own business and you're marketing your own business and you're doing all the right things, you expect to move forward from and get fruit from what you're doing, results, and sometimes they don't come in the timing that we expect them. And for whatever reason, and I always feel it's based on energy, how we're holding our own energy. So I wanted to kind of change the groove of the meeting, and I shared a story. And this really is a story about waiting it out, essentially, or patience, perseverance, persistence, whatever you want to call it, or as well, manifestation. So here's the story. A lot to get there, huh? Here's the story. I was transitioning from being a manager in an acupuncture office in Oakland Community Acupuncture, fabulous place. And I was going to go and teach, begin teaching on my own in the local. I lived in Hayward, so the Hayward Senior Center. Then I was teaching some classes there, but I was starting an evening class, so I had to leave work early. And so I consistently left work early every Tuesday. I had a new class on schedule. And I systematically placed this class before the ballroom class because I could see the need in, the seniors that were being trained. They were learning their steps, but there was, and to my eye, trained dancer's eye, ballet, that they really could use the information or learn how to move their bodies gracefully, how to use their arms. So, their positioning was as lovely as the form of ballroom dancing is. So I strategically placed a class called Dance Basics before. And I had no enrollees, but I would leave every Tuesday at a certain time to go through the traffic because the traffic started. So you're kind of inching your way back into Hayward. I would sit in the parking lot. Luckily, it was near a creek, so the trees were really beautiful. And I would basically, I was cutting the pattern of going to my class for when it did start, when people did enroll. And I would sit there and I kind of would go off on a tangent, I would say, to imagine that I had like 12 dancers. So that's kind of in my history, being from a group of women, 12 dancers. And I imagined having these dancers, and I knew they would be seniors and most likely not really have dance background. So I would be teaching them to dance. And that's something I'm really good at, breaking things down. Trained lots of dancers. And I would imagine choreographing or using a choreography that I was in a company I was in. And I imagine dressing them up in the costumes and making them. These are all things I love. So I could really get into it. I'm just daydreaming this. And I would imagine performances, for the local senior community. And so I did this. I literally did this for 5 months. Mind you, I'm kind of doing this in mind while I have a dance basics class on the roster. And I would get one person here, one person there, and I'd work with them, but I wasn't getting, the people I thought might come to the class. But I did keep this picturing and feeling and pretending and enjoying up. And eventually I had 12 women dancers, which I was one of them. So this was like an opportunity for me to perform again, which I love. I taught them how to do all the steps, which I got to use this talent that I have of just breaking things down. How do you walk? You walk like this. Let me show you. And we'll drill it a lot. And teaching choreography. So you're working not only footwork patterns, but you're moving around the stage with a group of people and not running into them, and working in precision patterns, because that's the way I am. I'm a drill sergeant. And I got to design the costumes for each woman. It was women, and kind of fit their colors to them and their costume to them, and put it on stage. And we would have performances for whatever kind of talent show or seasonal show would come up. And they were always a knockout. Everybody loved, it just really, the group would shine. So that's my story of when you're in the beginning stages, you're doing everything right, but it's not going anywhere. But don't give up on the dream. And I have to say, I didn't sit there all frustrated. I said, well, I have some time, I can relax. I'm sitting in a nice place. Let me daydream. Let me daydream of what I'd love it to be. And it, in fact, it came into fruition. And we were able to perform for 6 years up until COVID started. And then I had to go online. So anyway, that's my story. Give yourself time and space. Don't give up. And keep that daydreaming going, that down-to-earth daydreaming, what you want to see, and let it unfold. That was another thing. It was just kept unfolding, unfolding, unfolding in my mind. Anyway, that's what I brought into that mastermind group to kind of bring up the level of energy that was going on, of frustration, that, you can get great results. So put that to use however you will. And I'll see you on the flip side. Assembly, let's find the, there